Hey everyone, it's Flakfire. DICE has released a few teasers for Battlefield 1 on their Instagram account lately. They're full of some interesting information, so I figured I'd do a video on them. Specifically, I'm covering teasers for Friends in High Places, The Runner, and Nothing is Written. Here's what you might have missed, plus some historical context. I apologize in advance for the less than stellar video quality. These are pulled directly from the Instagram feed. For Friends in High Places, we know the war story surrounds the relationship between Canadian pilot Clyde Blackburn and his observer. In this shot, red Fokker DR-1 triplanes appear to be swooping down onto a target. They might be fighters from Manfred von Richthofen's colorful flying circus and appear to have the upper hand in position and numbers, which was a tactic promoted by Richthofen's own Dick de Boelke. We've seen this before, but Blackburn appears to be flying a Bristol F-2B. There are visible mounts for unguided rockets here. There's been some debate on Blackburn's name choice, and DICE's own Eric Holmes has confirmed the name is not random. It is possible he is related to Henry Blackburn from Battlefield 3. In this shot, Blackburn is firing rockets at a downed aircraft on a glacier, presumably in the Alps. This seems like a bit of overkill to me, but perhaps the pilot had sensitive information. It's also not one of the Fokker triplanes we saw earlier, which may mean it's actually a friendly plane. Vehicles lost behind enemy lines were destroyed when possible to keep them from being repaired by foes and to keep new technology out of enemy hands. In this shot, we see bombs falling on a fortress. Though the layout is different, the design is similar to that of the infamous Fort Douaumont near Verdun. Here we can see one of the fort's artillery turrets. In this shot, we can see what early rockets were actually designed for. These incendiary weapons were designed to ignite the hydrogen inside the Zeppelins and observation balloons. In this shot, I wanted to point out the attention to detail DICE is putting into Battlefield 1. The game has trench rats. And that may not seem like a big deal to you, but trench rats were a terrible nuisance to the troops on the ground. Allegedly, they could grow to the size of cats, feeding on the corpses of the fallen. More air combat follows, and while we've seen barrage balloons before, this is actually an observation balloon denoted by the basket. Among the first soldiers to receive parachutes in World War I were those sent up in observation balloons. The inclusion of this shot in the teaser indicates we won't be fighting only in the skies as Danny Edwards. We'll also be on the ground in the trenches. Based on this shot, the fighting happens at night, which will hopefully provide opportunity for some stealth gameplay. It also looks like we'll be getting up close and personal with a Zeppelin, perhaps even fighting on board one, but how that's going to happen is anyone's guess. In the teaser for The Runner, we know the story surrounds Frederick Bishop, a veteran Australian and New Zealand Army Corps soldier, and his new charge. In the first shot of this teaser, we see massive warships bombarding a coast and a fortress. This is probably part of the Gallipoli campaign, since the Ottoman Empire maintained several forts in the Dardanelles. Here, Bishop fires a flare gun into the air as a signal, perhaps to start the amphibious invasions. In the background, the shadow of a large fort looms in the distance. The young soldier shown here may be the protagonist for this war story, though we know little about him. The interaction here is taking place on board a ship, and Bishop doesn't seem happy, showing our young soldier the ropes. This scene shows us how some amphibious operations were conducted in World War I, with rowboats. They don't appear to be under fire in this scene, so it's likely Bishop is part of an advanced landing party to scout terrain and help coordinate attacks. I'm not sure where this scene takes place, but there is a chance it may be the landing at Cape Helles. I say this based on the topography and the inclusion of landing from a large transport that could be the infamous River Clyde. The ship was purposely run aground to disembark troops quickly. Unfortunately, the landings did not go as planned, and she became a death trap, square in the sights of Turkish guns from the nearby fort. This shot looks like it might take place at the fort as part of an amphibious assault, while this scene shows fighting inside a coastal village. Large ships are visible in the background here. Battlefield 1 also just put out a new teaser for the Nothing is Written campaign mission. We know this story follows a Bedouin warrior who finds herself working with Lawrence of Arabia. In this shot, the Bedouin warrior surveys the wreckage of a train in the desert sands. It's probably the doing of Lawrence, who commonly targeted Ottoman trains. Based on what we know about this war story, an armored train is wreaking havoc throughout the area, and these two cars are part of an ambush to derail it. In this shot, the Bedouin warrior appears to be placing explosives on the railroad tracks in an effort to destroy them. It may not look like a lot of dynamite, but militaries actually did testing to determine how to derail trains with a minimum amount of explosives. Lawrence's skill with explosives was also said to be legendary. The plot for this war story seems to surround luring this train out into the open for an attack, and it reminds me of the adventures of young Indiana Jones' Phantom Train of Doom episode. It's one of my favorite episodes from the miniseries, so it's probably why I'm most excited about this chapter. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out on YouTube. I'm assuming the Bedouin and Lawrence capture this Ottoman soldier to aid them in their goal. There hasn't been much in terms of new vehicles and weapons in the past teasers, but here there is actually quite a bit. We've seen the Pierce Arrow or Peerless armored car here before, but the weapon in the following shot is new. It's a Colt 1911, but it seems to be fitted with a suppressor. Suppressors or silencers existed as early as 1902, so it wouldn't be out of the question to see one in Battlefield 1. Interestingly, its creator was Hiram Percy Maxim, the son of the Maxim machine gun designer. There looks to be quite a bit of stealth gameplay in this teaser as well. This shows a new vehicle or variation. It's a troop transport truck. We haven't seen anything like this yet in Battlefield 1, and it looks like it seats 4 in the back. Whether or not this will be featured or even useful in the game's multiplayer remains unknown. The next couple shots show bloody encounters with the Phantom Train Janavar. This is a Webley revolver, probably the Mark IV, although its barrel seems particularly short. It seems we'll get a chance to wield the T-Gewehr against aerial enemies in the campaign, and we've also got a nice shot of a Lee Enfield rifle with iron sights. The black boxes here on this Fokker DR-1 triplane indicate it belongs to the Ottoman Empire. And at the end of the clip, the Bedouin warrior is holding something in her hand. We know from the other trailers that there's a body lying at her feet, probably that of a loved one. This may be the impetus for her war against the Ottoman Empire. And that's all I have, and of course, that is all just speculation. The first chance players will get to play Battlefield 1 single-player campaign is on October 13th as part of the EA and Origin Access Play First trial. The game's prologue and the war story Through Mud and Blood will be playable during the 10-hour trial. I also went to the National World War I Museum and Memorial in Kansas City this past weekend and took around 140 photos. There's a link to the album in the video description here, and if you like what I'm doing, consider donating to my Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, share on websites like Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.